It appears that the United Arab Emirates and the Netherlands may come under Nigeria's flight armor, and that's simply because of the new pre-boarding COVID test requirement placed on Nigerian travelers. Under the new requirement, travelers are expected to do a rapid test at the airports in Lagos and Abuja 4 hours to their outbound flights. This appears to put a doubt on the COVID-19 processes in Nigeria, and that's our subject of discussion on this edition. Also, we'll bring you a report on the Embraer E195 as a Nigerian airline becomes a launch customer in Africa. A warm welcome to Aviation this week on Channels Television. I'm Bukola Jo Ketumbi.
Domestic passengers make their way into the local terminal, observing the COVID-19 protocols. Within the check-in area, they make last-minute efforts to catch their flight. For some, flying in these unusual times is both stressful and cumbersome, but for others, it's not a bother.
No, there is nothing. The important thing is just for us to keep to the protocol and ensure that we do the needful. When I got to the airport today, I was really impressed with the setup, the processes that the fan has put in place. So that also gives some level of assurance that we are safe.
I shouldn't really. Why would anyone want to be afraid? What? Afraid of what? What am I afraid of? What? The pandemic or COVID? I've got a mask on, so I'm pretty safe, I think.
For this traveler heading to Owerri, the Imo State capital, after arriving from the United States, he rates the COVID-19 rules enforcement high.
I'm really impressed. I mean, I must say, from all the countries I've been to, Nigeria is one of the ones that really enforces it like more than all those other countries. I was even in Paris, but Nigeria's measures are even way more strict than it is over there.
While local travel in Nigeria is hoping to recover from the downtimes occasioned by COVID-19, it does not appear so for international travel, as bans and restrictions are now in place. Countries like the United Arab Emirates are not only planning to shut transit flights from Nigeria to Dubai from February the 1st, a country like the Netherlands is also demanding a PCR test 4 hours before boarding, which is now a source of worry for authorities. From Nigeria to Canada, as major airlines there have agreed to suspend all flights to Mexico and the Caribbean until April 30 as part of the fight against the second wave of the coronavirus.
We will also, in the coming weeks, be requiring non-essential travelers to show a negative test before entry at the land border with the U.S., and we're working to stand up additional testing requirements for land travel.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau cited new variants of the virus originating out of South Africa and the UK as part of the reason for the tighter measures.
We know that these variants represent a real challenge. We've seen public health modeling that shows what happens if these variants do take hold in Canada. We saw that one travel case resulted in many cases of the UK variant in and around Barrie and expanding. We know that just one case of the variant that comes in could cause significant challenges, and that's why we need to take extra measures.
Only 4 airports will be open for returning international flights: Vancouver, Toronto, Calgary and Montreal. And in coming weeks, Canadian vacationers returning home from the United States by land will have to show a negative COVID-19 test result before being allowed entry. Now to Britain, where direct passenger flights to and from the United Arab Emirates have also been banned, shutting down the world's busiest international airline route from Dubai to London. Britain says it is adding the United Arab Emirates, Burundi and Rwanda to its coronavirus travel ban list because of worries over the spread of a more contagious and potentially vaccine-resistant COVID-19 variant first identified in South Africa. In Germany, especially at the Frankfurt airport, police are seen scrutinizing people arriving on a flight from Manchester, UK, to ensure they're exempt from the ban and have all the necessary documentation, including a negative coronavirus test result. As of midnight on January 30, entry to Germany was no longer allowed for travelers from Brazil, Britain, Ireland, Portugal and South Africa unless they're German residents. In the United States, President Joe Biden is also reimposing an entry ban on nearly all non-U.S. travelers who have been in Brazil, the United Kingdom, Ireland and 26 countries in Europe that allow travel across open borders. U.S. officials say the agency is putting in place this suite of measures to protect Americans and also to reduce the risk of this variant spreading and worsening the current pandemic. The International Air Transport Association has called on governments to partner with the air transport industry to devise plans to safely relink people, business and economies when the COVID-19 pandemic situation permits. A priority for this critical cooperation is fast-tracking the establishment of global standards for vaccination and testing certification.
On our interview segment, we have Bernard Bankole, who is an industry expert in the travel and tourism space. He shares his thoughts on the new rapid testing and other issues.
These are countries that are very particular about their people, and they want to be responsible for their people, and they will not allow another country to jeopardize their interest or the interest of their people. So for the safety of their people, they've decided to take additional measures, and I completely can't blame them. It is their responsibility to protect their people. But the question now is, how are we protecting ourselves here? So if we've said that, okay, Nigeria should come into UAE with visa, so any Nigerian that is going into UAE must ensure that he has the visa, correct? So if they said that, okay, in addition to that, you need to have a PCR test before coming, it becomes mandatory. Then when they realize that your people keep coming up with fake COVID tests, and it's affecting their people, affecting their country, the appropriate thing to do at that particular is to put additional measure. Now the additional measure is an additional cost on the passengers. I've heard about people that they will get to Dubai and they will find out that they've tested positive. Some are even detained in their hotel that they cannot move out. So the system is a bit porous. Now, NCDC has appointed another agent at the airport in Lagos and Abuja to carry out this antigen test, which is additional cost to the passenger. Who approved the company that is doing the test at the airport? Who approved it? Was there any stakeholders meeting? Was there any agreement whatsoever bringing everybody within the industry to realize this? All they just did was they just dumped in on us, and Effective also did. There you go. A lot of challenges now, because we now have to put a whole lot of tickets in for refund. And clients are clamoring on us, asking for their money. And unfortunately, we can't get the money back from the airline just like that, because there's a process. So if we can't violate the process, there's a process for refund. But customers won't understand. I paid you the money, refund me, because the airline has said we're going to refund you. So it has created a lot of problems for we, the travel agents, the travel experts around, which I believe is unfair. But this idea of imposing, all because some people are carrying fake COVID tests at the detriment of other people that are making genuine travel plans and doing their normal PCR test, I don't think it's fair. It's not fair on we, travel agents. It's not fair on the passengers that will have to pay through his or her nose. So what it means now is that you have to do 2 tests before even leaving the shore of the country. Then when you're coming back, you do another one there. Then you do another one when you get back. That's 4 tests for crying outside. Must it be like that? I think we can put up proper measures. Honestly.
Now to Canada, where a small recycling company is taking advantage of an opportunity presented by aircraft retirement. As COVID-19 grounds a large number of airline fleet, accelerated plane retirements is somewhat creating a room for profits for companies that thrive on dismantling and trade of aircraft parts.
This is an Airbus 310 that we started the harvesting of parts and the decontamination of this specific aircraft.
Canada's Aerocycle is bidding to buy grounded planes for the first time to dismantle and resell for parts instead of just recycling.
The insulation that you see here on the walls, we've given this to a company in Quebec that manufactures electric buses, and they want to reuse the insulation bags for their buses.
While companies involved in the trade see opportunities in parked planes, a sudden increase in the supply of used parts risks depressing prices in the estimated $3 billion a year industry. With aviation remaining in a slump because of the pandemic, the fate of the world's pool of grounded planes is being closely watched by players in the market for used serviceable materials. The number of planes dismantled for parts or scrap could double to 1,000 annually through 2023. That's up from roughly 400 to 500 planes a year since 2016.
I think companies like ourselves are going to take certain precautions on harvesting parts off different types of airplanes to make sure that, we're investing our money on removing parts that are, in high demand. There's no rush for us to harvest parts off an aircraft. It could take a bit longer to make sure that our return on investment is a low risk. And, if we need a part within 48 hours, we can get a part removed and, AOG or shipped to whoever's requesting that part, right? So for us, it's more about being cautious on how we're harvesting parts off which aircraft. Versus before, it was a bit more open, so we would harvest more parts and keep them in inventory. Now, we're just going to, again, make sure we measure our risks on removing what parts off what aircraft.
Airplane recycling pertains to the process of harvesting parts and materials from end-of-life aircraft. As the airline industry looks to become more eco-friendly as well as to cut costs, one area of increasing interest is that of aircraft recycling. With 12,000 aircraft scheduled to be decommissioned over the next 2 decades, recycling will play a larger role.
When we return after the break, our report on the Embraer 195 is next. It's certainly not the best of times for players in the global air transport industry as the continuous wave of the coronavirus is dealing a deadly blow on airlines and other players in the logistic value chain. As airlines keep recording lower passenger traffic, this is forcing owners and managers to rethink their operational model to keep the business afloat. To bridge this gap, global carriers are embracing the use of medium-range, fuel-economical airplanes to navigate the pandemic until the industry returns to a rebound. Though medium aircraft such as Brazilian Embraer have been used by some carriers in Nigeria, which include Associated Aviation, Virgin Nigeria Airways, Arik Air, and Aero Contractors, more carriers, especially Air Peace, are also embracing it. The Nigerian airline is the launch operator for the E195-E2 in Africa.
We made a firm order of 13 brand new jets. We received one today. In 2 weeks' time, the next one will follow. Another 2 weeks, they're already manufactured in our livery, in our paints, in everything. They'll be coming in one after the other. So, but having a brand new airplane is to enhance your savings. These 13 planes will create about 8,000 more jobs.
With fuel alone gulping about 40% of airline operating costs, regional jets such as Embraer will enable airlines minimize costs in achieving sustainable operations.
The choice of equipment that we do, speaking to the professionalism in the industry and allowing it to work as it should. The choice of equipment determines the profitability of your business and its sustainability. Profitability and sustainability to be there in the long haul, so that you don't join the queue of those that have started and have quit. And there's no way that you can compete and compare yourself with airlines that are properly kitted with the right kind of equipment as an aircraft that consumes less fuel, does less maintenance, direct operating cost is very low, and operating the aircraft is so simple. The workload on the pilots is simple and easy. It allows them to bother themselves in flying the aircraft. You cannot compare yourself with those that have this type of airplane and others that don't have.
The new aircraft is powered by twin Pratt & Whitney geared turbofan engines and features new wings and new landing gear designs. The aircraft seats up to 146 passengers and has a range of 4,600 kilometers. Embraer calls it the most environmentally friendly aircraft in its class. It has the lowest levels of external noise and emissions.
The E195, nicknamed the Prophet Hunter, and I underline this nickname, the Prophet Hunter, brings the best of new technologies, superb engineering, and superior economics. It is the perfect fit for the efficiently strengthening Air Peace domestic and regional network, delivering the essential connectivity for the country's socio-economic development, and providing the basis for feeding sustainable long-haul operations from the Lagos International Airport hub to other destinations in the world.
For its delivery in Nigeria, Air Peace is the first airline to configure a premium cabin with staggered seat operation. Each of the 12 business class seats is slightly offset from the other to give more space and privacy, making the configuration 124 seats. Meet 7-year-old Graham Shema, the Ugandan boy who has become a sensation in his country with precocious display of aircraft knowledge and boarding flying skills. Shema loves math and science. The student has flown as a trainee 3 times on a Cessna 172. He wants to be a pilot and an astronaut and someday travel to Mars. One recent morning at Uganda's Entebbe International Airport, his instructor asked him to explain how the engines worked on a Bombardier CRJ 9000 plane parked on the tarmac.
The engine works like this. The inlet tube sucks in the air and it takes it to the compressor. The compressor squeezes it with the fans. After squeezing it with the fans, it becomes hot temperature. If it's hot temperature, it goes in the combustion chamber. The hot air mixes with fuel. If they mix with fuel, they make burn.
Shama's curiosity for flight was piqued by a freak incident. When he was 3 years old, a police helicopter flew so low to the ground that it blew off the roof of his grandmother's house on the outskirts of the Ugandan capital, Kampala, while he was playing outside.
So the industry here, it's not developed, you know it very well. And it's very hard to find a good simulator here. Guys, they use these TV simulators. So the aviation, really, it's expensive. And many people fear to go into aviation because every parent will know that aviation is it's an expensive thing to go to. So many kids end up going to other things instead of going to aviation schools.
After 5 months of coursework, he started practical lessons at the flying school. Flight instructor Simon Bruno says his passion for flight will inspire others.
Captain Shema, I see him as one of the exceptional pilots who is going to inspire the whole world, who is going to inspire the coming generation, the kids, and is going to inspire and challenge the status quo, the adults. So Captain Shema, he's passionate about flying. He likes about flying.
The pilot sits in the port side.
On our last stretch, see how a personal device for persons with limited mobility is being introduced at the Haneda Airport in Tokyo. Personal devices to transport passengers with limited mobility are rolling out at Tokyo's Haneda Airport. These efforts are necessary for labor shortage hit Japan as this urgency creeps in as the coronavirus outbreak compels social distancing. The initial 3 devices which replace push wheelchairs are from Yokohama startup Wheel. The equipment, which will run between security and passenger gates, come equipped with cameras, LiDAR and other tech to autonomously navigate the environment.
We've actually mapped the whole terminal here, and then we've analyzed the data, and then we feed it into the machine. So the machine will actually have the knowledge of the whole environment, and then using the sensors, it will try to figure out where its current location, and then because we've already included the destination as well, so it's smart enough to think, okay, I need to go there, what's the most ideal route to reach that point?
Wheel aims to expand the number of devices at Haneda and into other airports, with the pandemic giving a boost to the startup.
So in terms of the coronavirus pandemic, actually we designed this without that in mind. But because of this exact pandemic, it actually accelerates our development and also the deployment initiative.
Wheel, whose other co-founders come from tech groups Sonic Corp and Olympus Corp, has found a foothold in Japan, where strict regulation has held back the growth of new mobility options like ride-hailing and electric scooters. This is where our flight lands and we disembark. Thanks for being there. I'm Bukola Jo Oketumbi. Do stay safe.